Hi, it's Maija here, and what you're about to watch are my BookTubeAthon vlogs. I know I'm uploading this a bit late, but it took a while to edit all these little bits and pieces since I didn't do that during the week. I was focused on my reading and filming those updates for you. But anyway, here you go. Hi guys, it's now day 3 of the BookTubeAthon, and I tried to vlog on the first day, but it was very cloudy and rainy in Finland, and I'm filming these little updates on my tablet here. It does have a 720p front camera, but it doesn't really work if it's dark inside, so I have to wait for a sunny day to get at least this quality. So that's why I didn't end up vlogging, because they didn't look like anything. I'm just going to tell you what I've read so far. I have completed 2 challenges, the read a book outside and read a book in one day. I started BookTubeAthon on midnight on day 1 by reading the first short story from Diana Wynne Jones's Mixed Magics. It was a little short story about a side character from Charmed Life. I think it was, I've forgotten a lot about these books. But then I noticed that the second short story featured characters from The Magicians of Caprona, which I haven't read yet, so I skipped that one. And the next day I realized that a library in my city had Magicians of Caprona on shelf, so I decided to make a little trip there. And while I went there, I walked part of the way there and back, and that's how I listened to the audiobook of A Rare Book of Cunning Device, which was the 30-minute Peter Grant short story by Ben Aronovich. And I enjoyed it, but I gave it only 3 stars because I'm not the biggest audiobook listener, and it took me a while to get used to the narrator. It was Governor Holdbrook-Smith, who many people like, and I think he narrates all of the Peter Grant books on audio, but I hadn't listened to any of them on audio, and I'm not that good of an audiobook listener, so it took me a while to get into the story and his narration style, as opposed to the way that I read Peter Grant when I'm reading the books. So it took me a while to get into the story, and it was a really short story. So that's the one that I read outside. Then I went to the library and I found The Magicians of Caprona. I think I'm not going to read it this week, but I'm going to read it right after BookTubeAthon and then read the short story that I missed from that book in order to complete it. I also picked up a couple of other books since I need 2 books for the 7-book challenge. I picked up 2 volumes of One Piece. These are 74 and 75 because sometimes I feel like reading One Piece and they're quick to read. I also picked up The Tales of Beedle the Bard by J.K. Rowling because it was there and I haven't read it and it would be a quick read. This is the one illustrated by cover illustrations by Johnny Duddle and interior illustrations by Tomislav Tomic. And I thought the illustrations looked pretty nice. I hadn't seen this edition before, so I got that one. Then on day 1 I also started reading Heroine Complex. I read about 50 pages of this. Then on day 2 I didn't read that much. I only read Knight's Dominion by Ted Nafee, which is a high fantasy comic, and I gave this one 3 stars as well. It was a regular high fantasy story. It was good to read a high fantasy comic for a change, but there wasn't really anything that raised it above and differentiated it from other stories. It was quite basic in my opinion. I did like it, but didn't love it. My favorite character was the Asp, who is an assassin. So that was the book that I finished in one day, so I finished 2 challenges. I didn't read any of the books, and like I said, now it's day 3, and in the morning I read another short story, the 3rd short story from Mixed Magics, which also had a character from Magicians of Caprona in it, it turned out, at the very end, in a really short section, so I hope it didn't spoil anything about the book. It did tell us what the main character's magical ability is, so if that is a big thing in Magicians of Caprona, it might be a bit spoilery. But that's what I've read so far. As far as today, I think I will continue to read more of Heroine Complex and perhaps read the 4th short story from this. So this is my person on the cover pick, if you didn't know. So I'm going to count the 3 short stories read as this book read, since I can't read one of the short stories. But that's it, I will update you more later. So it's day 4 and it's thankfully sunny again, so I can film another one of these updates. Yesterday I decided to go off my TBR and I went ahead and read The Tales of Beedle the Bard by J.K. Rowling, which I decided to use for my challenge of reading a book with a person on the cover I was planning to use Mixed Magics, but I finished this first, so I will use this one. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I found the fairy tales, this is full of made up wizarding world fairy tales, and I found some of them to actually feel like old fairy tales. It was very well done. So I enjoyed this, and I think my appreciation of the book was raised by the illustrations. I thought the illustrations were really good. Here's one of them, and again they were by Tomislav Tomic. And then I also read a couple of chapters more of Heroine Complex, which was in my book on the trip to the library, and it's still already got like black scuff marks on it. I don't know how that happened. That'll teach me to take books with me to the library, I guess. But anyway, that's what I read, and today I'm going to continue reading this, but I don't think I will get a lot read since I will need to run some errands, go run around in the city. But on Friday, Saturday and Sunday I hopefully have more reading time. So hopefully it'll be great weather and I'll check back with you again. So it's Saturday, day 6 of the BookTube-A-Thon currently. Like I said earlier, I didn't read a lot during first day. I read only about one chapter from Heroine Complex, I think. But then yesterday I read 100 more pages. So now I'm on page 208. And I also decided to read a bit of Illuminae. I only read about 30 pages, I think, just to see how fast I can read it. I'm not still quite sure if I have time to read that for my hyped book, so I'm not sure what my hyped book will be. Part of me wants to say that the Tales of Beetle the Bard is a hyped book, because it is hyped in the wizarding world, but that would be a bit of cheat. So it's like 3:30 p.m. currently, and I haven't read anything yet today, and I'm just eating breakfast, so I'm eating breakfast for late lunch, since I woke up at 12 p.m. and then I've been watching YouTube videos and folding laundry, and I vacuumed half of the apartment and I changed the sheets while watching, and then I took a shower and then I made breakfast. So now I'm eating breakfast and I'm going to read some more of Heroine Complex while I do so. So for my late breakfast I'm having a baguette with cheese and ham, some Earl Grey and strawberries with Greek yogurt and a dash of vanilla. And then when I was in the city yesterday I also bought myself some treats to have with coffee today and tomorrow. So for my readathon coffee treats I also have some Lynch balls. I have white and dark chocolate, and then I also have some truffles. I decided to go a bit all out, and there's all my Neko Atsume figures from Japan. So I'm home alone for most of the weekend, so I can really concentrate on my reading, except I have to do some dishes at some point today. At least some. We don't have a dishwasher, so that's a bummer. And then I think I also want to watch a Star Wars movie, at least A New Hope, maybe also Empire Strikes Back during the weekend. So I need to get to reading so I can give myself some movie watching time as well. I really feel like rewatching those. But now I'm going to go ahead and eat, and I will see you later. So it's 7 o'clock, and about an hour ago I headed to read out on the shore because the weather turned really nice. I couldn't really concentrate on reading that much since there were a lot of people walking their dogs or training them nearby, but I did read a bit more of Heroine Complex. So far today I've only read about 50 pages, so I hope to read more. But I did do some of the disease and I did go to the store, so now I need to head home and make some dinner and continue reading Heroine Complex. I decided to do some red curry tofu stir fry because that is an easy and quick recipe. I forgot to pick up more rice, but I think I have enough. And I picked up these ready cut wok vegetables because I was feeling lazy, and it's BookTube-A-Thon. I want to read and not spend a lot of time making food. So it's time to cook. Okay, so it's now 11 p.m. and I just finished Heroine Complex by Sarah Kuhn, which completes the challenges of reading a book I bought because of the cover and reading a book about someone who is very different from you. Now I only have the hyped book and read 7 book challenges uncompleted. I think back when I bought this book I thought it was a young adult book, but it's definitely not. It's more close to urban fantasy, the like of the ass-kicking women in leather with hot guys. Apart from the fact that in this book the ass-kicking heroine clad in leather is the main character's best friend and not the main character herself. And there is that hot guy, but there's also demon portals and a nice story about friendship and valuing your friends. I think I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars. I didn't end up eating any of those truffles because it was so late when I made dinner that I didn't want to drink coffee after that. It would have been at 8 p.m. when I would have drank coffee and then I wouldn't have slept. And I actually feel very sleepy because I think I'd overdid it a bit with the chores. I also did 1 new load of laundry and hung it up in this meantime. But now I'm going to watch A New Hope and eat these chips and probably tear up about Carrie Fisher a bit. And then I'm going to go to bed. So good night. So I didn't end up filming an update on Sunday, but I'm updating you now that the BookTube-A-Thon is already over and I'm going to do a bit of a wrap-up as well. In the end, I didn't end up having the apartment to myself for the whole of Sunday. And I didn't really feel like filming, and for most of the day I didn't even really feel like reading either. But I did start the day by reading the final short story that I can from Mixed Magics by Diana Wynne Jones. That was The Sage of Thiare. It is set in another world where there are these gods who are worried that they will lose their power because this one prophesized person has been born. And there is also an appearance of Crestomancy at the end, which is my favorite part because Crestomancy had the flu, and that was so random and everyday to have this man with the flu dealing with some gods. So I really like that part. I still have one of the short stories left, but I will read it after I've read Magicians of Caprona, like I told you before. But for the purposes of BookTube-A-Thon, I counted this book as read, even though not for any specific challenge. Then I didn't feel like reading for most of the day, but in the evening I decided to finish The Book of Phoenix by Nnedi Okorafor. I mentioned this in my TBR for a possible hyped book, because it was a nominee for the Arthur C. Clarke Award, and also a lot of the people who I follow on Goodreads have given it 4 or 5 stars, and I had really enjoyed what I had read before BookTube-A-Thon started, so I was about 60% of the way through this before BookTube-A-Thon, and I just finished the last 40%, which was about 100 pages. But I'm still going to count it for my hyped book, a bit of a cheat like that. So that brings me to 6 challenges finished. The Book of Phoenix is set in the future and it tells about this one woman who is a specimen in these towers that are sort of laboratories that deal with changing people and coming up with all sorts of innovations, scientific innovations, but the specimen are sort of prisoners in there, and this woman comes to realize that and basically is on a quest for vengeance. It was really, really good. I'd say it was about 4 or 4.5 stars. It was very, very readable, even though it had so much rage in it, basically. And I almost gave it 5 stars. I just let the ending decide if I want to give it 5 or 4 stars, and I think it's about 4.5. So that's my hyped book. So that was all that I read on Sunday. If I could have just finished like one piece during the day, that would have put me up to 7 books, and I could have finished the final challenge, which was to read 7 books. But I didn't, so I read 6 books. So to recap and wrap up the BookTube-A-Thon and all the challenges, for the challenge of reading a book with a person on the cover, I read The Tales of Beedle the Bard by J.K. Rowling. For a hype book, I read The Book of Phoenix by Nnedi Okorafor. For finish a book in one day, I read the comic trade Knight's Dominion Volume 1 by Ted Nafee. For a book about a character who is very different from you, as well as for a book both because of the cover, I read Heroine Complex by Sarah Kuhn. And for a book finished completely outdoors, I read A Rare Book of Cunning Device by Ben Aronovich, which was a 30-minute audio short story. And then I also finished for a 6th book, Mixed Magics by Diana Wynne Jones, or the 3 short stories out of the 4 that are in this. And then I didn't finish the final challenge of reading 7 books, but I'm fine with what I finished. So in the end, I read 6 books, fulfilling 6 challenges, and I read 870 pages. Let me know how you did during BookTubeAthon, and I hope you liked these vlogs. Let me know how you feel, even though they aren't the best quality because I am filming on my tablet. But let me know if you enjoyed this, and maybe I'll do some in the future as well. That's all from me for now, and I'll see you later.